right, we're getting news from Pakistan, which has been witnessing massive protests in the Faizabad region. For the last 10 to 15 days, there have been massive protests and there was lathi charge, there were tear gas shells fired over the last couple of days. Several people have been injured and now it seems that the Pakistan army has finalized a deal between the government and the protesters. Aditya joining us. Aditya, get us the latest.
Parikshit, we have an exclusive copy of the deal that was achieved this morning between the Pakistan Prime Minister and the protesters, after which the protesters have called off these protests that were on for almost 2 weeks now. We've seen the kind of violence and the kind of mayhem that was, being witnessed in Islamabad, in Karachi, in different areas, containers all over the streets. There were violence also, after which rangers were deployed. The Interior Ministry had also asked for the army to be deployed, which army did not agree to. As is the case always with Pakistan, there's a division between the civilian government and the army. And this deal also points that out. The deal basically thanks the Pakistan Prime Minister, General Bajwa, for his role in achieving the same. So that brings us to the question, was the Pakistan Army Chief acting as a mediator between Prime Minister Abbasi and the protesters? These protesters are no ordinary figures. These are extremists and Islamist, fringe mob which had taken over the streets of Islamabad. And the most important point here is that was another ploy to show the supremacy of the Pakistan Army, because we know the real headquarters and the real power center lie with GHQ Rawalpindi and not Islamabad. So this deal brokered between the Pakistan Prime Minister and protesters also does indicate that Pakistan Army Chief is the real power center, not Prime Minister Shah Abbasi. They had met yesterday, after which the Army Chief had also asked the Prime Minister to restore all the TV channels, and within minutes the TV channels were restored. So you can well imagine who really is the boss now in Pakistan.
And where is the situation heading for? The fact that the army chief is telling the Pakistani Prime Minister to lift the ban on television channels. You had Facebook, Twitter, no form of social media working for the past few days. And now the army chief is brokering a deal. The army is brokering a deal between the protesters who have been on the streets for the last 15 days and the government. Where does this leave things? Where is the Pakistani establishment heading?
Well, as of now, the protests have ended. They have concluded. One would imagine that peace has been restored. But the underlining image and the underlining point here is that Pakistan Army has shown yet again that who really is superior right now, who really calls the shots. So that is the basic point right now, because immediately after the deal was achieved, immediately after there was a signed agreement between the Pakistan government and the protesters, we saw the law minister tendering his resignation. He had already decided that last evening, as the speculation suggested, but Zahid Hamid, whose house was ransacked by these protesters, is no longer the law minister. His resignation has been accepted by the Prime Minister. So here again, the deal has been brokered, the peace has been restored, but Pakistan Army emerges victorious. And one would imagine that was this really a ploy to show Pakistan Army's supremacy? Was Pakistan Army always hand in gloves with these extremist Islamist forces to let the Pakistan government know who really is the boss? And Parikshit, most importantly, the question really goes up is that there was speculation that there might be a coup. There were discussions going on in media because the media was shut down completely. Social media wasn't accessible. Protests were completely, being witnessed in the capital city of Islamabad. The coup did not happen, but yes, the Pakistan Army again made its point very clear to the Prime Minister that he cannot take any decisions without taking army on board, and army is the real power center.